Hi, Titan. Lisa from KOIN. Nice to see you. This is Titan Crawford we're talking with PDX Stolen Cars. You're an expert in everything when it comes to stolen cars, not being on the thief end, but in finding the stolen cars. Tell me how your organization started.
It was October 2021, in the peak of the pandemic, and just noticed driving to work that we had an awful lot amount of cars on the sides of roads. Um, Inadvertently, I'd found one in my neighborhood walking my dog, and I started a Facebook group later that night called PDX Stolen Cars. It grew legs of its own from there, and we've been off to the races ever since. Started partnering up with Portland Police Bureau in July of 2023 on their stolen vehicle missions and the Multnomah County's Auto Theft Task Force.
Tell me how it works. In other words, do you just drive around? Do you have a list? How does this actually happen?
Yeah, so everything is put together by the community. People come and say, "Hey, my car's stolen." They give us the details on the car, such as the license plate, police case number, and the VIN number. Pictures of the car are very helpful. A lot of people are super visual, so you recognize, like, "Oh, I remember seeing that." There's a lot of us that do drive around and spend time actually driving to find cars for people. And people also maybe have a car that shows up on their block and they're not sure about it. They're like, "Gosh, that's not normal." And so all these factors come together to help us find different ways and exciting new ways daily, literally, to help find stolen cars.
So people would post, or they would give you the information on your site, and then you would determine whether it's something that's going to be posted for your members to look out for. And then what happens at that point if they say, "Hey, I think I've seen that car"?
Boom. Then we're in action. So time is of the essence when it comes to a car. Sometimes they're only there for a little bit. So we have a strategic attack plan essentially on this, where we notify police of where the vehicle is. At the same time, we're notifying the owner of, "Hey, this vehicle is in this location. You should give a call also, to notify police that you, the owner, also know where your car's at." And then we do reach out directly to Portland Police Bureau, Multnomah County Auto Theft Task Force, Multnomah County Sheriffs, depending on what jurisdiction it's in, to notify them, "Hey, we got a car. It's stolen. It's here." The exciting part really comes in the event, it's a heightened sense if there's an occupied stolen, because now you have a suspect.
What happens at that point? In other words, how do people remain safe? It's my understanding that you don't have people out on the missions along with the police. Explain a little bit how it works so you don't have sort of car cowboys out there roaming around.
Yeah, when we do the missions with police, the biggest team we've ever had doing that is four people, and it's all the people that helped start this initially. They're my team leaders, and there's four of us total. So it's just the four of us that go out and do that. And we have a direct connection. We've done it a lot. We've done 40 missions now. So we're pretty experienced of what to do when you find an occupied stolen. In the case that it pops up on our group, we notify police. That's their job, to come in there and get the car, and if there's a suspect, to detain the suspect, determine if there's charges to be forwarded to the district attorney's office, things of that nature. So we go by the letter of the law of being good citizens in how we go about recovering and finding these vehicles.
Isn't there a little bit of concern about safety with something like this? Because generally, someone who's stealing a car may have weapons, may have some other things in that car, or be nearby and be pretty upset if all of a sudden somebody approaches that stolen car.
Yeah, so we maintain distance. Distance is key on this. Early on, I learned a few scary lessons of being too close to a stolen car. So I've been able to pass that experience on to people that help participate in this. The number one goal is safety. These are just cars. If we don't get the car now, we can get the car later. The car will, show up somewhere else if it moves. So number one thing is distance, and keeping an eye on an occupied stolen is not an easy thing to do. There's only a few of us that specialize in that. Myself, Chaz, one of my administrators, and then two of my other administrators. We've got a lot of experience doing that, because those are the dangerous situations. Cars can turn around and drive at you. For example, the car itself could be a weapon, let alone, a firearm or something like that, which in the case of occupied stolen cars, about 20% to 25% could have a weapon in the car if it's occupied. So we're very, very we're very, very safe and aware of the danger that that presents, and so we don't put ourselves in danger.
That
We
sounds like some learned experience. Share some of those early experiences that you were, I guess, educated with.
Yeah, if you've ever watched a scary movie, you've seen like the jump scare scene where it just surprises the heck out of you. I've had occupied stolens or where there was somebody in it that I wasn't aware of. I couldn't see them because of tinted windows. Maybe the seat was leaned back. So, you have that happen to you one time where like your body's natural reaction is I'm in danger, and the fear kicks in, and you typically just don't do it again. So, didn't take too many lessons to learn how to maintain a safe distance and what's the best way about going out to do this. It's not really something you can write down because every situation is different when it comes to a stolen car. You're never going to have the same situation pop up twice, so every time is a new learning experience. But typically, distance, we have the phones that have the best zooms on the cameras, whether it's an iPhone or a Samsung. So you've got 25x on iPhone, you've got 100x on the Samsungs. So you can maintain some distance, binoculars, things like that.
Have you ever had a gun pulled on you?
No.
Fortunately,
Yeah.
that's
Stay
good.
stay far enough away. We're not there to be threatening to get the car back. We're just there to oversee getting the car back. We're not there to physically get the car back. We're there to make sure that police know, hey, the car's here, and then it's their job to come get the car.
What's your sense in terms of why cars primarily are stolen? What are they used for primarily?
They're a gateway. So, of course, you've got some that are just purely transportation. You know, the older, easy to steal cars like the Subarus and stuff like that from the 90s. But they're gateways to tips of other crimes. They're used in robberies, burglaries, things of that nature, or more violent crimes as you're seeing. So I think there's been some recent stories about that where, you know, burglary happened. Oh, and by the way, the guy was in a stolen car, things of that nature.
I was surprised when I went out with you in the past that the condition of these cars are in some cases pretty good. It's not that the car is completely destroyed or wrecked or anything, but people can actually get their car back and it's relatively okay. Is that what you
Yeah,
find?
no, it's we have a lot of success with that. So having eyes in the community, the less time that it's stolen and the faster you get it recovered, the higher probability that the car will be in good shape. The flip side of that is, as a criminal, you don't want to be driving around in something that's obviously stolen. You want something that's going to be low key under the radar. And so you're not going to want to have it, completely. It's not the norm now to be driving around a car without a catalytic converter like it was 3 years ago. So you're seeing less and less of that. You're seeing more and more of like newer, higher end cars getting stolen, that you would typically not expect
Such
because
as,
those are the best. Whatever keys are available is typically what you'll see. So whether it's the gym locker thefts, so on and so forth, if criminal can get their hands on a car that doesn't look like an obvious stolen car, they've got a better chance of staying under the radar and accomplishing whatever goal they have, of criminal activity. So the less likely it looks stolen, the more chance they have to perpetrate their crimes.
are there certain vehicles that you're seeing more that are being stolen now? Like in the past, it was Kias because they had an issue that had been corrected by the manufacturer to make them less able to be stolen. Are there certain vehicles now that seem to be the targets?
Unfortunately, you're going to have the Hyundai Kia situation going on for a long time. There's just so many of those cars out there. That's kind of like your baseline. But what we're seeing is just more of what you wouldn't expect. A 2022 Ford F-150, for example, or a 2019 Mercedes, like cars that you just wouldn't pin down like, oh yeah, that's definitely a stolen car. No, if it shows up on your street, you're gonna not really think too much about it. It's like, oh, that's somebody visiting a neighbor, for example. So it makes it more of a challenge for us to find the cars that are stolen, but at the same time, we've always had our secret weapon, that we usually don't discuss on air, and I'm not,
Okay.
to where we can know if a car is stolen uh, just by having the information on the car. So that's always been our big advantage.
What about the idea that people are getting more preventative devices. The cars are essentially getting smarter in terms of keeping people from getting into them with more technology. Has that been helpful, or are the thieves getting
Technology,
smarter?
a little bit of both. Technology on these newer cars is fantastic. You go buy a brand new car, there's probably a 98% chance that you can download an app on your phone and know where your car's at, know if your car's locked. Some of these cars will tell you if there's, movement detected in your car, for example, through an app on your phone. So that's huge as far as preventative maintenance or preventative theft deterrence. Um, and then the old standby of like the clubs getting passed out on for cars that were susceptible to like ignition theft, for example, like the Hyundais, the Kias, the old Subarus, the old Hondas, the old Toyotas. Like having a wheel club is a good visual deterrent. It's not going to stop them from stealing the car, but it might make them pick a different car or just skip yours altogether. So any preventative measure you can take, one layer of security is better than none. Two or three is better than one. It just goes to just show, like I drive an older rig. I've got multiple layers of security on it. And so if the car goes missing, I'm going to know where it's at. If they try to steal it, it's going to take them a little longer than the next one, so on and so forth. So,
Has anybody ever
multi
tried to steal yours?
yeah. And I left it to where you can see where they damaged the lock getting in on the driver's side.
Did
So
they
that
get
was
in?
years back. I don't think they got in. I wasn't missing
Okay.
anything. This is well before PDX Stolen Cars. I was like, huh, my key doesn't fit in the door. And I have a key fob. And I'm like, well, that's curious. And then it dawned on me later, somebody tried to get in my rig. I was like, huh, how ironic.
Talk a little bit about some of the newer methods that car thieves are using. I mean, this whole idea of the key fobs, where you don't actually have to use the key, you just have the device that's in your home, but somehow they can access that.
Yeah, so you've got the a couple of methods on these newer cars that you're starting to see. Saw the key programmers, like with the Eric Adams case with the Camaros and the Hellcats and the Corvettes, where they were physically getting in the cars and making a key on the spot. That took about 30 seconds to a minute per car. And then you've got the relay attack. You're just starting to see that in the Portland market. It's been big in Europe for a long time. It came through the East Coast, came through the Midwest, and the relay attack is where they're essentially amplifying the signal of the key fob and getting the car to think that the key fob is actually in it. So you can unlock the car and start the car.
So how does that work? I'm a little confused. In other words, if you have that key fob inside your home, not in the car, that you haven't left in the car, but you have it inside, somehow that can be accessed, and if so, how would you prevent that?
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're literally amplifying the electrical signal using funny looking antennas. But you can build that device with the components off of the internet that you can just buy regularly. So the way you would want to prevent that is using a Faraday bag, which is a bag that prevents electronic signals from getting to your key fob. So Faraday bag's the way to go, or a similar device of that nature to protect the key fob from receiving electronic signals from the outside, because they're essentially sending electronic signals and then sending that signal back, and it's called a relay because they're relaying that signal through an antenna to the car.
What about just simple wrapping it in aluminum foil or having some kind of foil air, pouch or something that you can just stick it in?
Could work. Not familiar with the technology or the science behind that in particular. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying that I know that it does work to do that. So
Well, it's just interesting because you're talking about high-tech methods, and then you're also talking about really basic methods like using the club, which is such a low-tech,
old
inexpensive
fashioned.
method, old-fashioned, but you're
Yep.
saying it works.
Oh yeah, that a wheel club can be a lifesaver in certain instances. There's many a criminals that know exactly how to get around those. Let's not kid ourselves. But it is a deterrent. One deterrent is better than none. So start somewhere. Start with that. Get yourself an off-brand version of an AirTag or a smart tag, for example. Don't even go spend the money on the Apple or the Samsung product. Get the cheap one. And that way you've got some layer of protection. If the car does go missing, you've got a chance of knowing where it's at. So, you know,
Another another piece to this, which is interesting, when I was out with you on a story one time, we took a look around a parking lot, And I hate to say we're peering in cars, but we were. And one thing that was pretty apparent, and you kind of rolled your eyes, the fact that there were people who had clubs, but the clubs were not on the wheel of the parked and locked car. They were on the floor or on the back seat, not being used. And I think you said you see that often.
Yeah, it's the best laid plans, but if you don't put them in action, it's that 1 second that countless times we've seen people say, "Yeah, my car's stolen. I almost always use my club. This is the one time I didn't put on, and the car got stolen." So just try and remember to use it if you can. Um, I'm not the best at it, but I do what I can to remember to use it just in mind, because the last thing I need to do is go track down my own car that got stolen. So
Well, I'm glad it hasn't happened to you yet.
yeah,
But as far
yeah.
as looking,
Nobody's immune. Nobody is immune. Any car can be stolen. Doesn't matter who you are. If you started a stolen car group, if you've, you know, been somebody that stole cars and now you don't, it doesn't matter who you are. Police officers get their cars stolen. Journalists get their cars stolen. Members of PDX Stolen Cars that go and look for stolen cars have had their cars stolen. It can happen to anybody. You're not at fault. It's a criminal act. You know what I mean? Just odds of probability are somebody's going to have their car stolen. Sometimes it's just your turn.
when somebody has to leave their car on the street, they don't have a garage, especially in Portland. So many people just have on-street parking. Are there some other things that you think are really helpful to try and keep your car from being the one that gets taken?
Yeah, the basics that it's preached over and over again by law enforcement. Don't leave valuables in your car. Don't leave a second key in your car. Park under a lit area. um, simple things like that it doesn't cost anything. It takes a couple of seconds, to clear out your car. Make sure you don't have like a checkbook sitting in there, or I guess I dated myself. Who uses checks anymore? But you know, don't leave your gym bag in there, for example, because your gym bag could have your wallet. It could have all sorts of things in there that would make it interesting. So you really just want to minimize the opportunity that's available. And countless times people leave a spare key in their car, or they leave the key to their other car that's parked next to it in their first car. And we've seen all sorts of stuff like that. So do what you can to minimize what is physically in your car. Park in a well lit area, and lock your doors.
Yeah, it's interesting. Somebody I know was parking in a parking lot that was patrolled, and they had a bag of clothes that they were going to donate to Goodwill, and their car was broken into. The back window was broken into, and that bag was taken. So it seems like anything shouldn't be in the car, I guess, if you're parking it in a public area.
Yeah, and you'll see like the gym locker thefts, for example. They were going there to target specifically keys and wallets. So if they have the keys, they can now get to your house, burglarize the house, take other valuables in your house, get to your other car. We had people that unfortunately had their house broken into. The titles to their cars were taken. Family heirlooms were taken. It took time to track down the cars. One car was recovered quickly. One car it took about 3 weeks to find. So it's it, again, it's not in any shape or form victim shaming, because we're all susceptible to crime. But whatever you can do to minimize your exposure to that is just going to reduce the odds that it does happen to you.
You've worked with Portland Police in recent months on some of these stolen car missions, and Portland Police, have said that the number of reported stolen cars has actually gone down over the past, several months, perhaps even a year's time. It's still happening, but it's gone down. Why do you think that is?
Uh, Team effort, community engagement and proactive policing, and prosecutions. So, people are being held accountable, and when sometimes just one person can be responsible for 30 to 50 car thefts per month. So that's been a big difference there. We can't catch them all. It's like Pokemon, but you try and catch as many as you can. You try and catch the big bad ones. So
30
get
to
the big
50
bad
a
ones.
month. What are they doing with all the cars?
Multiple things, whether, I mean, there's all sorts of ways. You can ship cars overseas, for example. There's cars. We tracked one that had an air tag somewhere over to the Middle East, for example. Stolen car. It's like it disappeared for months and months, and then all of a sudden the owner's like, "Hey, my car's over in blah blah blah," and I look at it on a map. This is 11,000 or 10,000 miles away. The car ended up over there. So insurance didn't collect it and sell it. We knew that for sure. So there's different ways to make money off of stolen cars. So they find all sorts of creative ways to do that, whether it's engines, transmissions, parting the things out, replacing VINs on the cars and reselling them as a different car. And then sometimes it's just, a quick joyride up and down the street. They have no intent of keeping it or doing anything with it other than using it for a period of time and then getting rid of it.
Titan Crawford, thanks for the time. Titan Crawford with PDX Stolen Cars. Thanks for working with law officers to try and recover some of these cars. Obviously, you guys have been making a difference.
It's a community effort, and we really appreciate everyone that's joined up with PDX Stolen Cars. We're pretty exclusive nowadays. We want to help victims of theft. That's our biggest thing. So we've got our team that's pretty experienced at it, and we vet our team to make sure we've got the best people doing this, and I'm really proud of all of them.
Great. Thanks, Titan. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Have a great night.
Take care, you too. Bye.